Imagine this exact scenario playing out in your life right now. You are standing in a crowded room surrounded by friends, co-workers, acquaintances, or even family members. Everyone is talking, laughing, enjoying food, and having a genuinely great time together. The overall energy in the room feels light, casual, and completely comfortable. Then, totally out of nowhere, someone drops a sharp, unexpected comment aimed directly at your chest. They attempt to wrap it up in a fake smile or mask it as a casual, playful joke, but the cold, bitter bite behind their words is completely undeniable to every single person listening in on the conversation. It hits your clothing style, your career choices, your relationship status, your past mistakes, your physical appearance, your personal intelligence, or the exact way you speak when you are nervous. The entire room goes dead quiet for a fraction of a second, and then the uncomfortable, scattered giggles begin to ripple through the crowd. All eyes instantly turn away from the main group conversation and lock straight onto your face, waiting to see what you will do next. Your heart starts pounding violently against your ribs, your skin feels burning hot, your mouth goes dry, and your stomach drops straight through the floor. In that high-stress split second, your primary survival instinct kicks in and screams at you to do one of two things. Either snap back with a venomous, mean-spirited insult of your own to protect your fragile pride, or laugh it off awkwardly while feeling utterly humiliated and destroyed on the inside. Welcome back to Freud Mind, where we break down complex human psychology, nonverbal communication, social power dynamics, and the hidden motives driving our daily interactions. Today, we are exploring the deep psychological mechanics of public humiliation and social disrespect. We are going to examine precisely why people use public embarrassment as a subtle power play, why your natural biological reaction to fight back or laugh along plays directly into their trap, and the exact step-by-step behavioral framework you can use to neutralize, disarm, counter, and completely shut down anyone who attempts to diminish your value or make you look small in front of others. By the time you finish watching this entire 4-part series, you will never view a cheap insult, a passive-aggressive dig, or a toxic joke the same way again. More importantly, you will possess a complete mental toolkit that allows you to walk away from any social trap with your dignity, respect, authority, and emotional peace completely intact. To effectively handle these high-pressure social encounters, you first have to look far beneath the surface level of the casual conversation and understand what is actually taking place psychologically between human beings. When someone chooses to make you the punchline in front of an audience, it is almost never actually about the specific topic they are joking about. It is a carefully calculated, low-risk, high-reward social tactic designed specifically to manipulate group status and control the psychological frame of the room. Unspoken social hierarchies exist in almost every human gather, whether that is a corporate office, a group of longtime college friends, a family dinner table, or a casual weekend party. When an insecure individual feels uncertain about their own social standing in the room, or when they want to assert unearned dominance and gain cheap validation from the surrounding crowd, they automatically scan the room for what they perceive to be an easy target. By putting you on the spot in front of others, they are actively attempting to lower your confidence and social standing while elevating their own relative authority in the eyes of the group. They want to test your personal boundaries to see how much disrespect you are willing to swallow without making a scene or calling them out. Most importantly, they are actively hunting for a dramatic, visible, emotional reaction from you. Your visible shock, your immediate defensive stance, your flushed face, your awkward, nervous laughing, or your frantic, aggressive outburst is the exact social currency they are trying to farm in front of the audience. They want to prove to the rest of the room that they hold the emotional remote control over your mood, your self-esteem, and your state of mind. When you understand that their primary goal is simply to trigger an emotional response, you begin to see that public humiliation is actually a game of baiting. They cast out a hook wrapped in a cheap comment, hoping you will bite down hard on it, so they can reel you in and display your reaction to everyone standing nearby. The single biggest mistake most people make when faced with sudden public disrespect is delivering an instant, highly emotional reaction, right on cue, exactly as the aggressor planned. The exact moment your personal dignity feels threatened in a group setting, your brain's emotional center triggers an ancient biological fight-or-flight response, immediately flooding your bloodstream with high levels of adrenaline and cortisol. That sudden, intense rush of physiological stress makes you want to defend your honor immediately without thinking things through. But jumping straight into a heated argument or offering excessive, fast explanations completely destroys your authority and social standing. For instance, if someone mocks your current outfit, your car, or your job performance in front of a group, and you immediately start explaining where you bought the clothes, how comfortable they are, or why your boss approved your latest work, you have already lost the dynamic. By defending yourself, you unconsciously validate their right to judge you in the first place, silently accepting their frame that your personal choices were somehow flawed and required a formal defense from you. On the flip side of that same coin, if you lose your temper, raise your voice in anger, turn red in the face, or start hurling frantic, aggressive insults right back at them in front of the crowd, you hand them total, complete control over the surrounding narrative. They get to sit back in their chair, raise their hands in mock defense, smile at the watching crowd, and utter those classic manipulative words about how you simply cannot take a lighthearted joke. That single move instantly frames you as overly sensitive, emotional, unstable, and completely unreasonable to everyone else who witnessed the interaction, effectively turning the entire room against you while making the original attacker look like a harmless, playful individual just trying to have fun. Instead of falling directly into that well-designed emotional trap, your ultimate first line of defense must be the strategic implementation of complete emotional composure and intentional silence. Human social interaction relies heavily on a predictable, rapid, back-and-forth flow, much like a fast-paced game of table tennis. When someone serves a sharp, disrespectful insult at you in a group setting, their brain fully expects a specific ball to be returned in order to keep the momentum going. They expect a defensive explanation, a heated counterattack, or, at the very least, a nervous, submissive laugh to break the uncomfortable tension hanging in the room. When you consciously refuse to return that ball and offer total, unbothered silence instead, you completely shatter the momentum of the game and throw their psychological expectations into absolute chaos. Instead of immediately opening your mouth to speak or forcing a fake laugh, simply freeze your posture and turn your gaze directly toward the person who made the comment. Hold direct eye contact with them for 2 or 3 full seconds without smiling, frowning, squinting, or blinking excessively. Keep your facial expression completely neutral, calm, and relaxed, exactly as if you just watched a tiny piece of dust float harmlessly through the air in front of you. That short, intentional pause leaves their toxic comment hanging dead in the midair of the room without a single drop of emotional fuel to sustain it. Because you refused to provide the expected reaction, the rest of the room quickly realizes how out of line and awkward the comment actually was, causing the full weight of the social awkwardness to bounce right back and land directly on the person who tried to embarrass you. When silence alone does not fully resolve the dynamic, or when you are dealing with a particularly persistent individual who keeps poking at you, you can smoothly transition into a psychological countermeasure known as the Socratic disarm. This simple yet devastating technique effectively forces the aggressor to take full, explicit accountability for their disrespect right in front of the entire audience. Instead of hurling insults back or showing the room that your feelings were hurt, you simply look at them with a relaxed posture and ask them to break down and explain their statement using a completely calm, curious, and neutral tone of voice. You can ask straightforward, grounded questions like, "What do you mean by that?" Or "Why is that funny?" Or "Can you explain that joke to the group?" When you deliver these exact questions with absolute emotional neutrality, without a single trace of sarcasm, anger, hidden aggression, or passive aggressiveness in your voice, you completely flip the burden of social proof back onto their shoulders. Cheap insults and covert social disrespect survive entirely on dark implications, hidden subtext, and quick, unthinking group laughs. The exact second you force an aggressor to slowly explain a mean-spirited joke out loud to a waiting crowd of people, the artificial humor instantly vanishes into thin air, leaving them stranded in front of everyone, awkwardly trying to justify a toxic, mean-spirited comment. They are forced to either admit out loud that they were being rude or lamely stumble over their words, trying to explain a joke that was never actually funny to begin with. As tempting as it might feel in the heat of the moment when your blood is boiling under your skin, you must actively resist the overwhelming urge to humiliate them back with a harsher comeback or a personal low blow. Taking immediate revenge might give your ego a quick rush of emotional satisfaction for a single second, but it ultimately drags you down into the exact same low-status, petty game that they are playing. When you respond to disrespect with sharp insults of your own, you escalate a minor social interaction into a loud, messy shouting match where both participants end up looking deeply insecure, petty, and childish to the surrounding audience. Maintaining your emotional ground allows you to retain total dominance over the social frame of the entire room. High-value, high-status individuals are instantly recognized by their emotional stability, grounded body language, and unflappable self-assurance under pressure. Remaining completely composed in the face of direct provocation proves to every single person watching that your personal self-worth is far too secure and grounded to ever be shaken by someone else's cheap shots or playground tactics. You demonstrate that while they are desperately fighting for crumbs of group attention, you are completely unbothered by their games. It is equally crucial to develop the acute social awareness needed to distinguish between harmless, affectionate banter among true friends and actual, systematic, psychological bullying. Genuine banter occurs exclusively within healthy relationships where mutual respect, deep trust, and genuine affection already exist. In those settings, the energy is lighthearted, the ribbing goes both ways equally, and neither person leaves the conversation feeling diminished, exposed, or targeted. Public humiliation, on the other hand, transitions into actual bullying when it turns into a consistent, predictable pattern of behavior. If the exact same individual repeatedly targets your specific personal vulnerabilities, singles you out specifically when a larger audience is present, or continues to make sharp jabs at your expense after you have clearly signaled your discomfort, you are not experiencing friendly banter. Recognizing this pattern helps you realize that the situation is not an innocent misunderstanding or a harmless mistake, but an ongoing lack of fundamental respect that demands clear, unwavering boundaries. Establishing a firm personal boundary does not require a dramatic scene, an emotional confrontation, a long speech, or a heated argument. In reality, short, direct, and completely calm statements delivered with steady eye contact are exponentially more effective at permanently stopping toxic behavior. A simple, composed phrase letting the person know that a specific comment was completely unnecessary, or stating calmly that you are not going to engage with that kind of tone today, is more than enough to establish your line in the sand. When you state a boundary with a low, measured voice, neutral body language, and an unhurried posture, you project immense inner authority without generating unnecessary collateral drama. You make it completely undeniable to every single person present that you value yourself far too much to allow casual disrespect to pass unchecked, all while keeping your own emotional hands entirely clean. Keep in mind that different social environments and power structures require tailored tactical adjustments depending on who is standing across from you in the room. A well-meaning but tone-deaf joke from a close friend or family member can often be handled best with a quiet, private, one-on-one conversation later in the day, where you clearly outline how the comment landed. On the other hand, a passive-aggressive dig or public put-down from a colleague or superior in a professional workplace requires a completely detached, objective response that focuses strictly on the facts, protecting your professional reputation while subtly highlighting their lack of workplace ethics. A subtle put-down or critical remark from a romantic partner requires immediate, deep, and honest communication, because open respect and emotional safety form the absolute foundation of any healthy partnership. Adapting your response to the specific context ensures that you always react with perfect proportionality, never overreacting to minor slips of the tongue, but never allowing genuine disrespect to take root in your life. In many real-world situations, choosing to walk away from the interaction entirely is the single most powerful, high-status, and intimidating move you can execute. Not every low-level comment, toxic individual, or deliberate attempt to bait you deserves your precious time, mental focus, or verbal energy. Certain deeply insecure individuals walk through life constantly looking to create emotional chaos and drama because they feed on the attention, outrage, and reaction of others. Social psychologists refer to this as emotional parasitism. They rely on your reactive energy to feel powerful. Choosing to engage with them in any way, even to correct them, prove them wrong, or debate their point, gives them the exact platform, attention, and validation they are so desperately craving. When you refuse to take the bait, you deny them the social reward they set out to get. Deciding to disengage completely, offering a faint, knowing, unbothered smile, and calmly walking away from a toxic conversation is not a sign of fear, weakness, or defeat. It is the ultimate flex of personal power, self-assurance, and frame control. It demonstrates to the entire room that your mental peace, personal dignity, and emotional state are infinitely more valuable than wasting your time trying to win a petty argument with someone who clearly does not deserve a seat at your table. When you physically or mentally remove yourself from a rigged game, you strip the aggressor of their entire audience, ruin their punchline, and render their insult completely powerless. You show everyone watching that your focus and energy are reserved only for people who bring value to your life, not those who try to steal your peace. To truly understand why these social dynamics affect us so deeply, we have to look at the underlying evolutionary psychology. The fundamental human vulnerability to public humiliation comes down to our primitive need for social connection, group belonging, and community acceptance. Our brains are biologically hardwired to react with extreme alarm, anxiety, and physiological stress to public embarrassment because, to our ancient ancestors living in small tribes, experiencing a drop in social status or facing rejection by the group meant literal physical abandonment and death in the wild. Being cast out meant surviving alone against wild animals and harsh weather. Because of this ancient survival wiring, when someone mocks you in front of others today, your brain treats that comment like a physical threat to your life. It fires up your amygdala, triggering the sudden flush of heat in your face, the rapid pounding of your heart, the tightness in your chest, and the overwhelming biological urge to either aggressively attack or run away. Understanding this evolutionary mechanism allows you to view your physical reactions with complete psychological detachment when disrespect occurs in the modern world. You realize that your body isn't telling you that you are weak. It is simply firing off a primitive false alarm designed for a world that no longer exists. The moment you recognize that your pounding heart and flushed skin are just evolutionary leftovers, you gain the rare ability to step back, take a deep breath, override those automatic biological impulses, and choose a conscious, strategic response. Staying completely composed in that high-stress moment flips the social dynamic entirely. It exposes the aggressor's deep-seated insecurity and desperate need for attention to the entire room. while locking in your authority as someone who simply cannot be manipulated, rattled, intimidated, or shaken by cheap tricks. You become the most grounded presence in the room, and that emotional stability is where true power lives. If you found these psychological insights powerful and want to master the hidden codes of human behavior, social power dynamics, and emotional intelligence, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Freud Mind right now for more content like this. As you go about your week, navigating your career, your social circles, and your personal relationships, make sure to hold on to this absolute core truth. Whenever someone attempts to make you look small, weak, or foolish in front of others, your main goal is never to win a noisy argument or prove them wrong. Your ultimate goal is to permanently stop giving them control over your emotional reaction.